Hello, Gremlins! It's been a little while since I've redrawn some of my old art, and these videos are always fun to make, so I'm back at it again. This drawing is something I drew in late high school, when I was trying to make realism work but had no grasp of anatomy or shading, leading to a lot of uncanny valley people. Today I'm going to redraw this character and background, but in my current style, which no longer aims for realism. This character is one of my many OCs, a girl named Olive 3 from the year 2321. When I first created this OC, I was in middle school, creating a bunch of characters for different scenarios, and Olive's entire personality was that she was from the future, at that time the year 3000. I later decided that she should be only a few centuries in the future rather than an entire millennium, and I did a lot of retconning of her character and world building. I'd also like to disclaim that the world building I did for the year 2321 is not what I actually think the future will be like, it's not what I want the future to be like, nor am I entirely sure it's even a possible future. It's just a mismatch of a bunch of elements of various dystopian books I read, with some of my own strange ideas. The name Olive 3 comes from the fact that I was creating about 100 different OCs over the course of a few months, almost half of them with names relating to the color green in some way, and I was running out of ideas. I have dozens of OCs with names like Emma, Emmy, or Emerson, all inspired by emeralds. I have just as many Jades and Jadies. And I have an Olive. The 3 is because I thought adding a number to the name made it sound more futuristic. In fact, her full name is Olive 3X90. In my several-year-old image, Olive 3 is standing by a window with absolutely no emotion on her face, and behind her is my idea of a futuristic city with huge skyscrapers and endless neon advertisements. In the redraw, I'm keeping the same basic composition, but Olive 3 is posed more dynamically, leaning on the windowsill with one elbow, her other arm by her side. In my sketch, I was going to have her other arm in front of her face with her hologram watch projecting an image that she's looking at, but I decided that I didn't want to try drawing a hologram, so I changed the sketch. It also took a while to figure out the arm resting on the windowsill. I had to take reference photos of myself to figure out what her hand would be doing. In the year 2321, humanity is in the process of coming back from several huge global disasters, including an undefined nuclear incident and irreversible climate change. In fact, the only reason humanity has survived at all is their settlements on the moon and Mars, where people were evacuated to during the worst of the fallout. Humans can live on Earth again, but only within enormous cities built under glass domes, which protect their citizens from radiation and toxic material and the worst of pollution. The inside of the domes are climate controlled as well. All food is farmed in enormous greenhouses and labs, and all water needs to be carefully purified before it is safe. There are thousands of these huge dome cities across the globe, built in the least uninhabitable areas, and these cities are connected to each other by underground high-speed trains. Most people never leave the safety of the glass domes, and those who do leave must wear protective suits and oxygen masks to survive the wasteland outside. You may have noticed a tube in Olive 3's nose in the sketch. Even within the domes, there isn't really enough safe air. All the air in the domes is filtered through the greenhouses to remove carbon dioxide and replenish the oxygen, but it isn't enough for the enormous populations of these domes. I don't really know how the science of this would work, but everyone supplements the oxygen they need with these tubes and oxygen machines built into their clothing, which concentrates the air into a more easily breathable form. People with health concerns get more powerful breathing help. Olive 3 also has a device on her ear, which isn't a hearing aid, although I realize it looks like one. It's an earpiece for calling other people or for listening to musical videos. Another weird futuristic element I added to my world building as a weird teenager is necessary body modification. In my original world building, I wrote that air pollution caused the entire population's hair to dissolve, so everyone wears crazy, brightly colored, and intricately styled wigs. I no longer incorporate this particular piece of world building because it doesn't make sense. What air pollution would dissolve someone's hair but leave the rest of their body mostly unharmed? However, I do love the idea of bright and intricate wigs, and other more permanent body modifications, being the norm in society. Olive 3 wears a neon green wig styled in space buns. I didn't give her other body mods, but I think other mods would just be advanced versions of modifications people already do today, like tattoos, plastic surgery, and eye contacts. Maybe people can even get animal ears, tails, small wings, horns, or antlers if they have enough money and want to go through the surgery and healing process. Other than her neon hair, Olive 3 is wearing a fairly basic spandex bodysuit, black with patterns of green swoops. In the original image, she's wearing a different pattern of bodysuit, but I'm basing the redraw outfit off a different image of Olive 3 I drew, whose clothing I like better. I don't know what it is about spandex and the combination of neon and black that makes me think futuristic, but it has been part of Olive 3's design since I created her, and I'm sticking with that choice. It isn't visible in frame, but Olive 3 would also have very high-tech boots. Boots that can magnetically attach themselves to a hoverboard, because of course she has to have a hoverboard to get around the city with her friends. Olive 3's parents are both working, so when she isn't at school, which happens virtually in online classrooms, she's hanging out around the city at virtual reality arcades, the huge history museum, or just causing trouble with her gang of friends. Also, speaking of school, when I was remaking Olive 3 to be more unique, it was 2020 or 2021, I I was bored in lockdown, and so I fully wrote 4 different essays from Olive 3's perspective that she would have written for her classes. I used these essays to talk more about the world building I was creating. One essay is about Olive 3's life, mentioning things like 3D printing her food, sleeping in a pod that blocks out all light of the city and then slowly brightens to simulate daytime, and a wristband that allows access to a hologram screen on which Olive 3 can talk or text friends, research things, and play games. Another essay talks about the nuclear war that led to Earth being so damaged. Another was a history report on the years 2019 to 2021, with a focus on a certain global event that I, Green, was actively living through at the time. I don't know why, but writing these essays was really fun, and I'm pretty sure I was procrastinating my actual schoolwork to make these. Olive 3 isn't even the only character for which I created fake schoolwork to aid my world building. Due to massive amounts of air pollution, the sun is almost never visible anymore. The sky outside the domes is just a brownish-grey cloud of smog, although over the decades it has been getting better as scientists around the world work at making Earth outside the domes livable once again. When Olive 3 was born, it would have been dark all the time, but for the millions of lights in the city that mean day is no different from night. Now Olive 3 can actually tell when it's day or night by looking at the sky. During the day, the sky is brown, and at night the sky is dark purple. In the background in this image, it's probably early evening. Not as dark as night yet, but the sky is still quite dim. You can't see much of the sky anyway for all the skyscrapers. I drew the skyscrapers in layers, receding into the distance, then spent ages trying to perfect a brush to paint all the lit up windows. I swear I went back to edit that brush half a dozen times to get the spacing between windows to look right. I really wanted the background to look detailed, cluttered and busy, and bright and dingy, so I spent a lot of time just adding things. There are beams of light shooting up into the sky, there are many, many neon signs and billboards on the sides of buildings, advertising products I was making up on the spot. There's advertisements to travel to Mars, advertisements for body mods, for cola drinks, for new technology. It's all supposed to just blend together into a chaotic mess of neon. I don't know what was up with me this week, but this image was hard to work on for no good reason. The actual drawing wasn't difficult. I really liked the subject matter, and there should have been no reason it took me as long as it did, but my executive functions were not functioning. I ended up working on this drawing in half-hour chunks, taking breaks in between to try and trick my brain into focusing. Often, I was sitting with my drawing tablet in my lap, just unable to start a section for longer than it actually took me to draw once I finally managed to begin. Despite this, I did get the drawing done, and when actually working on it, I was really enjoying the process. I just had lots of issues getting myself to start. Olive 3 is extremely pale. As I shade her skin, I'm still trying to use the skin from Arcane as a reference, and for Olive 3, my inspiration is Victor's skin. The citizens of this city all get their vitamin D from government-issued supplements. None have ever really seen the sun. Mind you, I say all this, but Olive 3 is barely paler than I am, and I have no excuse. I apparently just don't go outside, or at least avoid sunlight on my skin at all costs. I also had some trouble shading Olive 3's face because she doesn't have eyebrows, but I needed to show that she does have a brow bone. I kept her lack of eyebrows from the original world building of no one having natural hair anymore due to pollution for some reason. There isn't a reason anymore, I think Olive 3 just decided to shave them off, but it's an interesting detail of her design. The rest of the shading on Olive 3 was very simple. Her wig is very shiny, similar to a neon wig I used to own myself, which became a tangled mess after wearing it twice because I didn't know how to take care of it. Olive 3 does know how to take care of her wig though. It's sleek and shiny and very neat. Her bodysuit is uninteresting shading-wise, but I find it hard to make a spandex suit look interesting. The final detail I added on the image, beside my normal adding of shadows in the corners, was a very subtle detail on the window behind Olive 3. The window has technology integrated into it, and for the design, I was inspired by the designs of the barriers in the arenas in the Hunger Games movies. I created a pattern of hexagons, then erased them until only subtle sections of the pattern were visible on the window. Finally, I textured the wall behind Olive 3, and the redraw is done. Here is the original drawing I created during lockdown when I was in high school, and here is my redraw. I'm really happy with the redraw, with Olive 3's design and the lighting especially. However, looking at the original again, I think the city I redraw is a lot more boring. The original city, while not executed in the best way, has so many more uniquely shaped buildings, including a huge glass and steel dome, and the redraw city is almost entirely rectangles and looks like a large city that exists today. Maybe I'll come back to the image and draw the background again to make it look more futuristic. Other than that though, I'm super happy with my redraw. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you've watched all the way to the end, chances are you like my content, so please consider liking the video and subscribing. I'm getting really close to 500 subscribers, which is super exciting. Anyway, until next time, bye!